Meena Harris, whose mother uh, may actually be the biological daughter of a man who claims to be descended from slave owners. In other words, Professor Harris, what he's basically saying is that this is my family is really important because we're descended. Yeah, sure. Some of us, the reason we're dark is because we were slaves. But my maternal ancestor had kids by a slave owner, and so the kid, and who's nice, he enfranchised his sons and daughters, and some of them were able to buy slaves and to be, part of the elite. Now, people like Harris, but also, with Isabel Wilkerson, there is this feeling among the very cognitive elite, professors in Ivy League and all this type of these type of people who, under the one-drop rule that prevailed, the one-drop rule said if you have even one drop of African American blood, you're African American, and that puts you lower in the hierarchy. So this is the opposite of what's known as Las Castas, the caste system, which is Portuguese and Spanish, where your rank in society, it depends on a number of factors. One factor is a degree of miscegenation, and whether you were the owner of slaves or whether you were a slave, or a serf or a servant. So obviously the cognitive elites they're meritocrats. Many of them rose purely by merit, and they want an African American aristocracy or high caste cotillion. We have cotillions, and we have our own. We have our own Harvard University. You have Harvard. We have Harvard. This is it's very reasonable. It's a very reasonable demand. It's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Okay, we are Janus faced in the sense that a really successful hip hop artist, who sounds street and who wears his cap backwards, yeah, he can come to Beverly Hills or wherever, to Bel Air. So there is a Janus face that we want to be cool, but we really want to be seen as the old world aristocracy and high caste and this sort of thing. And Kamala Harris really fits that. She fit that bill very well. This is why Donald Trump and his daughter Ivanka, they gave money to Kamala Harris's one of her campaigns, electoral campaigns, when she's starting out. But let's face it, Kamala Harris, the more you look at her background, the more repulsive she seems. And now Meena Harris, of course, she's very much whiter. And I don't know whether her mother is biologically Harris. She may not be, I don't know. But what is certain is that, that family split up. Why? We don't really know. Kamala Harris, it's believable that she is Professor Harris's daughter because she's really good looking and certain quite tall and so on. But I don't know. These are things which we can only speculate about, rather in the manner that Meena Harris speculates about things which she knows nothing about. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And it's let's look at a rather bizarre tweet. She says, this isn't just about agricultural policy. It's also about the persecution of a vocal religious minority. It's police violence, militant nationalism and attacks on labour rights. It's global authoritarianism. Don't tell me to stay out of your affairs. These are all of our issues. This is mad. This is QAnon level, fucked in the head, crazy. This is woke nonsense. The farmers' protest in India is basically, it is highly localized. It's about the people who own land. Yeah, they're not agricultural workers, they own land. They bring in migrant workers from, from Bihar or from UP. Well, actually from Bihar or even further east. They receive a higher price, and they went around and they gang rape Dalit women. They buy influential, profitable SHO, station house officer posts for their, for their sons. Rakesh Tiket is a classic example. He was a sub-inspector of police in Delhi, and guess how many people he gang raped? Shoved a bamboo up their ass or into their vagina. This is routine. So this is an upper class, which incidentally Meena Harris would probably respond to, because it's a Caucasian. They look much more Caucasian. And Meena Harris is, this is the, look at her. I mean, for some reason she's laughing like a hyena. But I think it is to show her Caucasian features and her good teeth. But, So this is a very stupid and worthless woman who is praising a type of protest which is deeply patriarchal, which is militantly anti-feminist, which anti-woman. It's misogynistic. It's about gang raping landless women who are uppity. It's about killing people. And she speaks of a vocal religious minority. She's speaking of the Sikhs. But the Sikhs have committed genocide against Muslims. Does this stupid woman not know what happened in East Punjab? Is she utterly ignorant of the history of her grandmother's country? What happened in 1947, 48? From Patiala, you had the missile. They were going out and they were slaughtering Muslims, and then Muslims responded. But and nobody likes the Sikhs, because the Sikhs haven't just killed Muslims, they also started killing Hindus. So we don't like Sikhs. And because they're crazy, and especially the Jat Sikh, it's gang rape and this and that, and there's just absolutely no reason to have any love for these people. And what's more, the Haryana Jat Sikh, the Haryana Jat Hindu, or Arya Samaji, has a great abhorrence for the Khalistani, and let them duke it out. We don't care. Because the rest of us want to get on with our lives. What we won't do, what no country will do, is to subsidize an evil, patriarchal bunch of criminals and their intermediaries who are debauching the environment. They're destroying the soil. They are precipitating an environmental disaster. And nobody's going to pay for that. Now, Meena Harris, with the stupidity typical of her class, which is that of some sort of a showbiz type of, is she a lawyer? Is she showbiz? Is she, what is she? She's woke. Oh, she's so woke. And and when she laughs, it's like a fucking python. Her jaw, it's sort of dislocated. Very frightening, Meena Harris. Very frightening. And these are not your issues, Meena Harris. Your only issue is yourself and your ego and how to get around it and how to, get over yourself. Where does the force exist to provide a police which can, policemen cost money. And, the fact is, when you see a policeman and, you beat him, he gets demoralized. He goes home and sulks and says, "I don't want to come. I'm ill. I don't want to come to work." But obviously, if the police find they're being beaten, they run away. But if they feel that they'll lose their jobs if they don't run away, then they'll stick around, but they will beat people who try to beat them. And, it makes sense to let the tougher and stronger people escape and catch hold of some weaker people and then beat them and shove things up their ass and up their vagina, which is what's happened in the case, it seems, apparently that's what's happened in the case of a 23 or 24-year-old called Nodeep Kaur. Now, the truth of the matter is quite simple. Haryana has a reputation of being tough with strikers, with mobs of workers who turn up to gerao, that means to surround and to cut off an industrial unit and then demand money. And so Haryana doesn't hesitate. It just says, after money, sir, we're going to treat you as extortionists, as murderers, and so on, and we'll beat you. And there is money available for beating these stupid cunts. Because, if they're not beaten, they kill. And if they kill, then there's no money on the table to bribe them. Look at what happened during the Manesar riots. One guy, Sonu Gujjar, I think was his name. He managed to extort about $100,000 or $200,000. He got some money out of it, but nobody else did. Now these guys ran amok and they killed and they broke the legs of an HR manager who's sympathetic to them, and he got an advanced degree from the Tata or some other institute of social science, and he's a leftist shithead. But they broke his legs, and they said he died, and they ran amok for a bit. But then you see the people of Haryana, they were lodging with farmers. And the farmers suddenly realized that these stupid cunts are endangering their revenue stream. So they beat them with vim and vigor, and they chased them, and they the police arrested some. But it was the farmers who beat them, and the young of them were sodomized. They were subject, they had things shoved up their arse, and they didn't do it again, and that was the end of that story. Haryana is a little bit more prosperous because they beat the strikers, they killed them, they shoved things up their asses, they put things into their vaginas, and they rub chili powder into, sensitive parts of your, and it works. This is how the farmers in Haryana have, the landowners, that's why they're doing, it's worked for them. And the police, you don't have to catch the big guy, let him escape, but you catch some other people, and then rub chili powder into their vaginas and shove sticks up their asses, and because this is law enforcement. But what is revolution? If this is law enforcement, what is revolution? Revolution is to go and break the legs of people, HR manager, whatever, and set fire to the place. So that's actually, in a poor country, that's actually a stupider thing to do, because you actually do need machines to make stuff, otherwise nobody's going to pay you. So yeah, so basically nobody likes the police because they're horrible. They want to shove things up your butt. This is a major malfunction in Tamil Nadu, which it must be said is better off now, very much better off, because it's a demographic transition, and perhaps it's a more female friendly part of the world. Oh no, Tamil Nadu is better off because stupid Brahmins are told to shut the fuck up and pipe small. Don't try virtue signaling, otherwise they'll slap you. But you see, the problem is that the Brahmins are all very silent. So, if you see a policeman, but people belonging to the dominant caste, a father and a son, they had a shop. And they didn't like the heavy-handed behavior of the police during the lockdown, and I think the father said something. So the police dragged him off to the station and started shoving things up his butt. Because, you're a policeman, this is a guy who hasn't done anything wrong. Should you release him? No, you should shove things up his butt, because, they have this fascination with the asshole, and, they get a childish pleasure in sticking things up butts. Anyway, the son, who's quite well built, he turned up saying, give me back my daddy, stop sticking things up his butt. So they fell upon him, and and then the magistrate turned up, and the magistrate didn't seem to notice that these guys were bleeding heavily from the rectum and that they couldn't stand. And anyway, these guys died. So, and they had committed no crime whatsoever. And that is the Indian police, but it is effective. If you say to me, listen, Vivek, give me back, my, I don't know, what would I steal? I'm trying to think of, give me back my teddy bear, otherwise I'd call the police. And I'm going, yeah, you call the police. What will they do? They'll stick things up your butt until you fucking bleed to death, you stupid cunt. Oh, right. Have back your teddy bear, darling. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. I should address him as Chidambaram. P. Chidambaram. I shouldn't call him darling. It's just so hot, though. Oh, wait. Yes, anyway. You would say to Meena Harris, for God's sake, stay out of everything. You're stupid. You look like a fucking hyena. I mean, what has happened to your... I mean, like a python. Which is that animal which kind of, dislocates its jaw? What's the word? And, in the horror movies... This is you, and you're being really stupid. You want to run with the hares and hunt with the hounds. You're saying that the Nodeep Kaur, who basically is a victim of the Jat, the high caste, the dominant caste, they're not even high caste, the farmers who keep gang raping and patriarchy. But the farmers need the industries. And they, if the police won't properly beat the strikers, they will, and shove things up their arse. And this stupid woman, she says, "Oh, this isn't about agricultural policy." India is a mainly agricultural nation. There is no fucking agricultural policy. There's a small government and there's a big farming sector. And the vocal religious minority called the Sikhs, they tried it on and they were beaten. And they have to like it or lump it. And of course, in their own area, they can do what they like to the Dalits and to women. And good luck to them. We don't care. So it's, it is not weird to see Meena Harris. It's not weird to see a photo of yourself or your auntie burned by people in America, because they despise you. They feel sure that you and Auntie G, that they will really fuck up the life chances of working class Americans, because you're credentialized casteist twits. You think of yourself as cut above. Your supposed grandfather is basically saying, I'm like Michael Manley. I'm, eyes of white. I'm not one of you niggers, cane cutters. I'm the guy who fucking whipped you if you didn't cut the cane. And that made sense back then. That was a sensible thing to do, because the fact is, if you want to be respected and you don't want people to try shoving things up your butt, you go, hey, I'm somebody. My people, we owned niggers. We're not niggers. Fuck you. And that's cool. And civil rights, that's a different matter, because in the 1960s, you have the Kennedys. And of course, the Kennedys were Irish. They had to flee Ireland. They were terribly oppressed. And then they captured Tammany Hall. They captured the police. The Irish Chief Wiggum and Simpsons. They were very, very smart about the manner in which they climbed up. So that it was the Ulster Protestant in the Appalachian Mountains to whom LBJ extends a helping hand. So this is the history of the Democratic Party. We all know it. It has sold out the working class again and again and again. And it's under Biden, things may be different. He's an Irishman. He's of Irish descent. He's a good guy, but behind him there is the grinning hyena face of Kamala Harris. And somebody has told her that you need to be warm, you need to be Oprah-like, you need to grin all the time, but the fact is that she's never had a child. Mamala, she's what is that? And consider the sort of colour prejudice that Meena Harris's mum must have inherited. Why did she get pregnant by a white guy? Why not by a black guy? Are you telling me that white people are more sexually attractive than black men, young men? Come on. Nobody believes that. That is... it is... and this is the horrible thing about caste. It's that it's something perpetrated by women, and they are discriminating against each other on the basis of slight differences in skin tone and in body shape and in accent and all this. What the shit? The fact is that caste arises out of matriarchality. At least it does in India, and there is an element of pathogen avoidance, no doubt. But it isn't something imposed by men, because men can fuck a lot of women, they can have a lot of babies. A successful guy, can have 100 kids. The Genghis Khan effect. And it makes sense for him to want all the kids to do well, because that's scattering your seed. It's a price equation. It's kin selective altruism. Democracy is good for us, for men. Well, not for me, because I'm an unsuccessful man. But caste is really for women, and because there is a grandmother effect. In other words, the longevity of the grandmother changes the life chances and the reproductive success, more particularly of granddaughters. So this is why caste exists, and this is why some African Americans, like Isabel Wilkerson, but they're women. They're saying, let's have caste. Instead of race, let's have caste. In America, let's fucking destroy the American dream by turning it into the Indian fucking nightmare. And Kamala Harris and Meena Harris, look at them, laughing like hyenas. And they want to inherit from Biden, who's a decent Irish Catholic guy who is progressive. He's a nice guy. But this is the python which has opened its jaws. It's dislocated its jaws and opened them very wide, so as to swallow all the progress that people like Bernie Sanders. He was a democratic socialist. He wasn't a Democrat. He was a socialist. Nothing wrong with that. But this is the pity of it, and Meena Harris and so on. They're going to talk bullshit. Her intervention in this in India, it is so ignorant. Now, on the web, on the YouTube, in Hindi, there's a young chap. What he does, he's part of a commercial venture to help people prepare for the Indian civil service and other competitive exams that you have an interview. And at the interview, you turn up and somebody's going to ask you, okay, tell me about Nodeep Kaur. She's in the headlines. Tell me about Meena Harris and Nodeep Kaur. And there is a video. It's in Hindi, so some of you won't be able to understand it. But I can understand it. It's perfectly logical, and it's explained exactly what's happened. I mean, it's left outside of the things that I've said, because that's controversial. But, you have the ignorance of Meena Harris on this side, and you have Hindi-speaking people on YouTube on this side. And if you look at Narendra Modi, he is the Hindi-speaking guy who can project both the idealism, which we associate with, the Kennedys and Obama and so on. He can do both, because that's what he was trained to do. That's what he's done for many, many, many years. He's a professional, and these guys are amateurs. And you've got to worry about this amateurism. You have to worry about Trump. I think Trump, he promised a great deal to working class people in America. And the one thing about Trump is that he went on saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. And how bad was the situation of this large class of people in America whom everybody likes? We like the guy with the pickup truck. We like, that entire ethos. We know that these guys work hard. They're hardworking and they're decent. They go to church. And, they're dying deaths of despair. As a very British, very posh Nobel Prize economist has put it, deaths of despair. And that's wrong. And we know QAnon was, and Proud Boys, we know Proud Boys was Afro-Cuban. And the head of it is Afro-Cuban, And we know that people need love. And it was only Trump who was giving that love. And it now seems as though it is only Trump who will continue to give that love. Because you have nutters like this horrible python, Meena Harris, who's so woke. Oh, she's so woke. She pretends that India is a very rich country which has an enormous police force. And then you have some vocal minority over here, and then you have farmers over here. In America, farmers are what, 1%? Less than that of the population. In India, it is the largest occupational group in the country. But it was only a tiny fraction of that, of the Indian agricultural population. It's only a tiny fraction which are actually farmers and who have this class of intermediaries which help them. And it's not so much about selling their stuff. They'll be better off selling directly. But the intermediaries, they help you get a fraudulent bank loan, which the government then cancels. When your son gang rapes a Dalit woman, you go, well, boys will be boys, and they're teaching the uppity, these uppity Indian equivalent of nigger. Dalit is Indian equivalent of nigger. And why? You can see that very clearly among the Jats, because they will frankly say to you, they'll certainly say to me, you're a darkie, you're black. I go, I'll fuck you up. You worthless cunt. I will beat you. I'm a Madrasi. And have you seen our fucking soldiers? We will kill you. We will slaughter you. Have you heard of the Tamil tigers? And then they're going, no. ऐसी क्या बात है भाई? No, not you. अरे नहीं साहब, you are a Brahmin. We worship Brahmins. Fuck off. And we know about this. That they're bullies. They're bullies. They'll try to, and then they'll grin and win you over and provide a really a better type of scotch than they're good guys. We like them. I mean, men like them. They're great fun. But I wouldn't let my son attend a wedding in the Pind. Why? Because I know there'll be this pressure. Firstly, they'll give you some bhang. He's 18 years old, or even if you're 23. You drink this stuff, you're out of your head, you start firing off the gun, then you actually kill some people. And next thing is they say, well, you fired one gun, now you fire other gun. In other words, gang rape. And you go first. We'll take your sloppy seconds. But what you're doing, you're cementing the hegemony of this class, and you're looked after by them, and it's very comfortable. And I know senior officers, they've seen it all. They were posted there and they kept their nose clean, and they warn you. They say, if you're going in that direction, don't, just fucking say, I'm a Brahmin, I don't take alcohol. Or say, I'm a Muslim. Even better. Because that's a religious matter. And they will kill Muslims if they are the agricultural laborers. 2013, that's what Ticket did. That's what he's accused of. And that's why he is so popular. He started crying. He said, no, BJP got me to kill the Muslims. Now I'm crying because they are being nasty to me. And all the Jats stand up. Because, he's saying, yeah, I'm a killer. That's what I am. I used to be a sub-inspector of police in Delhi. Imagine how much raping I was doing then. And now, but I gave it all up to join with my daddy, who's for the farmers' protest. And these farmers' protests, this is like a horrible, disgusting version of the long drawn-out conflict in Britain, in this country, between the coal miners and the Conservative Party. But the coal miners were good people, and the British trade union movement is not a gangster operation. Whereas what we're talking about here, the farmers thing, there is gangsterism. And the truth is, look, I have some sympathy. I have a lot of sympathy for the workers in Manesar and so on. The industrial workers like Nodeep Kaur. It's a fact that her pay has been docked, that it is shown as X amount and less is given, and, this type of thing is happening. But the nexus is between the landlord, the guy who owns the land on which that factory is, and he is a farmer. And he is part of that intermediary, what Kaleki called intermediate class. It's a Kalekian intermediate class which is reinforcing, and Kaleki, of course, he came from Poland. And Kaleki is a true prophet of what happened. And you have this idiot, Meena Harris, whose father is Professor whose grandfather is Professor Harris, unless by DNA they're not actually related, and that's the reason that the marriage between him and Shamala fell apart. I don't know. But the fact is, you can bloody ask her grandfather. He's alive. Go and talk to him. Learn something about economics and political science. And the fact is, African Americans, genuine African Americans, not these fake, faltu, worthless, faku, tambram, nutjob, shithead, careerist, comprador, cunts, not them. I'm talking about genuine African American economists, the greatest in the world. greatest sociologist, greatest thinker. Dr. Ambedkar is, that's, Maharaja in India sent him to Columbia because he was smart. He wanted to hire him as the military secretary when he came back to clean up things and to build India as a great country, based on equality, not on bloody caste, not on bloody wokeness, not on this, this is worse than any QAnon bullshit. This is just, it looks like paranoia, but it isn't. It's deceit. It's fraud. It's fake news. And this is why Trump is going to come back. Trumpism is going to come back in one form or the other. And let's never forget, it was Trump and Ivanka. They actually contributed money to Kamala Harris's political campaign just, 10 years ago, less than that. So to hell with Meena Harris. And on the other hand, look at these young people in India who are helping, they're making money, it's a career. They're helping people, ordinary people, like Nodeep Kaur, who wanted to go to university. And, she will. She'll become a lawyer, or she'll, and she's Dalit. So she could actually, let's invest in Nodeep Kaur and let's get her into the bloody IPS, into the Indian Police Service. Let's do that. That's something worthwhile. We can get behind that. Instead of painting her as a bloody anti-national and saying she's a Khalistani and this and that. Thank you, Meena Harris. Fuck off, Meena Harris, you stupid cunt. No. This is not a joking matter. The fact is, you look at that picture I'm looking at a picture of Nodeep Kaur. I can well believe she has been very maltreated by the female cops because one female cop was injured in the confrontation. And I'm not blaming the cops, I'm not blaming her. I'm saying, Nodeep Kaur is part of the solution if we invest in her and we back her. And one way to do that is if she actually goes on the YouTube and she sees this study circle type of videos where her case is explained in a proper manner, factual manner. And she must learn about all the other various cases, so that when she goes for her interview at IPS or whatever, or it may be anything, and they ask her, and it should be done in Hindi or Punjabi, not in bloody English. Enough with English. English is useless. I've spoken nothing else all my life. And it's done me, it's made me stupider, more prejudiced, more of a piece of shit than I needed to be. And religion's a real thing, and it doesn't matter whether you get the message of scripture in Hindi or in Punjabi or this or Tamil or whatever. English is also fine. Simple, straightforward, nothing fancy, not woke bullshit. And that's all we ask for.